This week on SUTV Overtime, it's playoff time for field hockey. The PSAC championships are this weekend, and they're happening right here in Shippensburg.
Football mounts a comeback on the road, taking them all the way into the playoff conversation in Region 1.
The playoff push continues next on SUTV Overtime. Hi everybody, happy election day to you and welcome to SUTV Overtime. Jacob Hitz, Patrick Ramsdale with you, and playoffs are now officially here. They're actually going to be on campus this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of playoff action happening all around this area, not just in Shippensburg. You'll have field hockey's hosting PSAC championships, and then about 2 weeks from now, right down the road in Millersville, they're going to be hosting the NCAA championships for field hockey.
They got to make it that far first. We have a lot to recap from this last week, so let's get into it. Our ship in 60. Football down, fourth down and Pocono for the Warriors, trying to keep this game alive. The quarterback trying to run for his life, but he can't get away from Jacoby Sherrard. He sacks the quarterback. Cameron Tinner finishes him off. Raiders come from behind and win at 24-23.
Field hockey up 10-0. Yeah, you saw that right. Anna Gruber takes a shot. Rebound goes right to Yaz Petrantonio, puts it inside the post. Ship would beat Frostburg State 11-0.
That was goal 102 on the season for Yaz at that point. Then more field hockey. This from Saturday. That's a pass from Tori Albright to Jenna Schlemmer, who finds the net. That's her third goal on the day. Third goal for the Raiders, so a hat trick for Jenna, and the Raiders take over Slippery Rock 5-0. The Raiders finishing the regular season undefeated in field hockey. Let's go back to football first, though, because they were down early and often in that game against East Stroudsburg. They came from behind, though, came away with the win.
Yeah, and it was a big win for Shippensburg. A much-needed win for them. They were already out of the conversation for the PSACs. They have been since they lost to Kutztown. But a big win for them to still be in the conversation to make the NCAA tournament. I believe right now they're sitting at 8th in the Super 1 region. 2 spots out of a playoff spot, though, even though the top 7 makes it. I believe it's Tiffin University in the, trying to remember the conference. It's not the MEC, is it?
No, it's not. It's something that starts with the G, I think. But you're right. So Ship 2 spots technically out of a playoff spot as of right now. The only thing that helps them is that there are 2 matchups this weekend that involved higher seeds facing seeds that are right in front of Shippensburg. You've got number 1 facing off against number 6, plus you've got Cal U, who's number 3, squaring off against Slippery Rock, who is number 7. If the top seeds win in both of those games, and Ship can win this weekend against Lock Haven, which should relatively be easy, maybe, you would think, on paper at least. That's why we play the game. We'll find out Saturday. And then the game 2 weeks from now against Mercyhurst. That'll determine whether or not Ship gets in. I believe they're going to need to finish 4th or higher to have a home playoff game. The way things look right now, it's all but certain that the Raiders, if they do make the postseason, are going to be on the road.
Yeah, and I think the big thing that is going to end up hurting Shippensburg going into these last 2 weeks is their strength of schedule. You look at, say, Slippery Rock, for example, they're playing that game against Cal U, which is going to be probably the matchup to watch in the PSAC. And then also, take a look at Shepherd. They're playing, I believe it looks like they're shaping up to play Slippery Rock for that last game of the year for them.
Well, it'll depend on whoever is the highest team in the West, whether it's Cal U, whether it's Slippery Rock. I believe IUP has lost at least once, if not twice. So I think they're out of the conversation, kind of in the same boat as Kutztown and Ship. It's going to be Shepherd, and then really whoever wins this weekend between Slippery Rock and Cal U, that will determine the West. Talking about the Raiders, though, the offensive line has not been as big of a help as maybe Coach Mack and the team would like. They're struggling to run the football. They're struggling to pass the football because Musina gets about 3 steps back and he's got 2 guys in his face from the other team.
Yeah, the offensive line has really been struggling as of late, but the defensive line has done a good job of kind of picking up what the offensive line has been lacking so far this year.
A lot of guys. It's a deep front 4, front 7 even, that they can swap guys in and out. If somebody goes down, the next guy that comes in is going to be more than able to fill the shoes. You've got Tinner, you've got Sherrard, you've got Chisholm-Ifani. The list goes on and on and on on this defensive front seven. The defense has been what's kept them in games. Even that Kutztown game, the defense kept them in that really up through halftime until Kutztown was able to get up by 3 scores and Ship just couldn't move the football.
Yeah, and it's just been kind of the story of the whole season, really.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Again, keep in mind, we play Lock Haven this Saturday, kickoff 1 o'clock. You can see it here on SUTV. He's going to be calling the game. I'll be down on the sideline. Jack Ainsley will be up on the broadcast booth as well. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it. It was an interesting game 2 years ago when those two teams played. It's going to be a lot of fun again this weekend, and hopefully the weather's a little bit better than it is, right now. It's going to be cold. There's no doubt about it. We'll be bundled up for it. Let's take a look now at field hockey. As they now have a bye today. They do not play. They're resting for Friday. They will play whoever the lowest seed is out of the top 6. This will mean that as of right now, the first game is going on as we speak. Westchester is playing Kutztown. Kutztown, the 6th seed. Westchester, the 3 seed. As we're talking right now, Westchester's leading 1-0. If Westchester can indeed win that game, we will play the winner of the IUP Millersville game, which starts at 6 o'clock tonight. That will be the lowest seed.
Yeah, and I think regardless of who wins, I think Shippensburg, they've proven throughout this year that they can beat any team that they go against. I mean, you take a look at just the month of October was an unreal month for the field hockey team. I would argue probably the best month in at least Division II history. But I think the one team that I think if you're Shippensburg you don't want to play is Kutztown, which I'm not 100% sure if it's possible for them to play. I believe.
Well, if Kutztown manages to beat Westchester in the game that's going on right now, Ship will play Kutztown no matter what happens in that second game. Kutztown is the 6th seed. Ship will play the lowest seed. So if Kutztown manages to win, it'll be a rematch between those two. Remember, that game went to overtime at Kutztown earlier on this year. But, I mean, Ship has had close games with Millersville. They've had close games with Westchester. I think IUP is the only game that they were relatively dominant in this season. It's a tough path for Ship to win the PSAC championship. And remember, this team has never won the PSAC championship and the national championship in the same year. Could this be the year that they break that curse, if you will, or is it just going to be same old, same old?
I knock on wood, I'm saying it now. I think this will be the year that they take home this is going to be the year that they win the PSAC championship and the national championship in the same year.
They've got the team to do it with Yaz and Jenna. A lot of goals scored between the two of them. The team certainly has looked good as time has gone on. We talked about the only multiple scoring game that they have had, the only 2, were the first 2 games of the season against Coker and then that non-conference matchup against Westchester. Since then, Ship has held everybody to 1 goal or less.
No, I believe they actually held Queens scored.
Queens, 2. You're right. Yep.
Queens did score 2 on them, but I believe every starter was pulled out of that game, and Queens scored 2 quick, and then Shippensburg brought all the starters back in and scored 1 more.
Yes. No. Yep. Yeah, you're right. That was, I think we were both there for that game and kind of knew what was coming after Coker came back. It was 3-2. Look over to the sideline, and Coach Solinger is bringing in all of the starters. Let's talk about winter sports. November just started. Halloween was 2 days ago, and here we are now talking about winter sports. Ready or not, here it comes. Wrestling starts tomorrow. Basketball starts in a week. The top preseason polls are already out for basketball. Ship number 1 in both men's and women's basketball in the PSAC. No ranking for women's nationally. We'll see what happens with the men's once that gets announced. Where did time go?
It's crazy to think that we're already at the start of winter sports. I mean, swimming has started, 2 weeks ago? It's crazy to think that fall sports are coming to an end, winter sports are already approaching, but this fall has been a great time to be a Ship sports fan. A lot of dominant teams, and it looks like the winter sports are shaping up to be very similar.
With basketball especially, you've got a lot of starters returning. Ariel Jones for the women's team. Jake Biss is back. Carlos Carter is back. You're going to have a lot of familiar faces on these two teams that took both teams into the PSAC championship semifinals 2 years ago. Ship obviously hosted it then. If we have a similar situation where Ship is number one in the East in both men's and women's, we're going to be hosting PSAC championship weekend again. Just not sure whether it's men's or women's, that will be in town. We'll find that out once we get closer. Obviously, the season hasn't even started yet. But, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, of course. We're going to have highlights for you. We're going to have live games, especially once we come back after the end of winter break. Hopefully, we'll have some games before winter break as well. Let's move on now. Let's take a look at some of the top plays from the last week. It's our top 5.
About to send this one in. Here it comes. Good ball in. It's a header and a goal. Christman, Ali Christman, off the corner from KK. Still going. Raiders have a shot. Far side. That's Kershaw. Cuts it in. That's a goal. It's an own goal. That counts. We're tied up at 1. Are you kidding me?
3 wides to the top of your screen. Yasina looking, corner. That's a great catch. Touchdown, Shippensburg. A great one-handed catch by David Ballot. Williams will be sidecar this time on first down and 10. That's Evan Morrill in motion. Morrill will get it, look to throw. He's going to throw back to Musina, who's got it at the 10, and will dance into the end zone for a touchdown.
Now has it on her stick. This is Yaz. Here she comes, and she scores! There's the goal for Yaz! Yasmin Petrantonio with her 100th career goal and the school record 31st goal of her career.
So before we get started with the game balls here, let's just talk about Bryson Musina for a second. If you would have told me 2 years ago he'd have like 4 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown this year, I would have thought you were crazy. It's awesome to see how much he's grown in that aspect of his game.
He's definitely become a multilateral player. It's not just throwing the ball. He's proven he can run, whether under pressure or just as like a QB draw. He can catch the football. That's his second catch on the season, by the way. I think he's close to 40 yards now, plus the touchdown. He has become an incredible athlete over the last 3 years. He's still got 1 more year to go. It's only up from here, I guess. I don't know. He's been very impressive so far this year.
Yeah, and this football team is going to be fun to watch next year as well. So moving into the game balls, I hear yours is a little bit different today, not as traditional as our normal game balls go.
Right. So this game ball, we'll pull the highlight up so you can see this. After the game was over against East Stroudsburg, I had the stream up watching and happened to see after the game was over the team giving orders. Got Coach Mack in there. He starts running, the rest of the team follows. They're all jumping up and down, having a whale of a time. Game ball goes to Coach Mack. I hope he didn't hurt anything. I know he's relatively young. He should be fine. But it's just so much. I don't think I've ever seen Coach Mack that fired up in a good way. Normally he's yelling his head off at a player or a referee. But man, he just looked like he was having fun out there. And I don't think that's something that we have seen in quite a while.
Yeah, I in my time have not seen Coach Mack running down a sideline before after a game, and I wish I could have been there in person to witness that because it would have been great to see.
Your game ball for the week, what do you got?
So mine is not a little less, it's a little closer to the traditional game ball, but it's going to go to the entire field hockey team for their month of November. I'll read off some of the stat lines here that Bill Morgan from Sports Info shared. In crazy stat lines. In the month of October, they outscored their opponents 59-1, only allowed 13 shots on goal in the entire month, 8 shutouts in 9 games in the month of October. Unreal.
We're joking about it in the booth on Sunday, or on Saturday, that the PSAC is the SEC of field hockey in Division II. I think we are Alabama at this point. It is unbelievable what we've been able to pull off. And those numbers weren't against Nosebleed University. They were up against Westchester, Millersville, Kutztown, all ranked teams inside the top 10 that Chip just dominated.
Yeah, and if we are the Alabama of Division II field hockey right now, it's going to hurt me a little bit to say it, but roll Tide.
Crew ball for this week. It goes to Allie Chrisman from women's soccer. Picked up her first 2 goals on the season yesterday in their postponed game against Shepherd. It was their last home game on the season. They have a road game on Wednesday against Mansfield, I believe, to wrap up their season. The men still have another home game left on Saturday after the soccer game, after the football game is done. Allie Chrisman gets the crew ball for the week, and you promised last week we'd have a Ramsdale versus Raiders next week.
Yes, my apologies to everyone. It's a little bit of difficulties with this week's segment, but rest assured we do have more filmed. So we're gonna, once we get one going, that's just gonna start rolling through just filmed swimming. Spoiler alert, I'm just going to say it now, 3 episodes into filming, that is the worst one I've done.
Now, I have a question. Since it poured on Friday, did you film the swimming segment inside or outside?
We debated outside, but we figured logistically, for the camera's sake, we would stay inside.
I guess that works out well. That's it for SUTV Overtime for this week. For Patrick Ramsdale, I'm Jacob Hitz. Thanks so much for watching. We will have more highlights for you on Thursday during our regular broadcast. We are back Saturday with SUTV Sports live coverage of football against Lock Haven. Himself, Jack Ainsley, will be on the call. I'll be on the sideline. And then, of course, we're back for more overtime next week. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week. Until then, good night.